welcome to Addicted to Murder. This is Courtney, licensed professional counselor with over a decade of experience.
And this is Trisha, and sometimes I feel bulimic.
Bulimic?
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like...
It sounds like bulimic.
And it's similar. I feel like the root word is the same, or the root ball, whatever, but you pronounce it bulimic.
Okay.
And what it means is a word describing someone who won't stop eating.
Oh, interesting.
So technically what bulimia is someone who vomits after they won't stop eating.
Right.
So the emia is like, if you look at it medically, is like not enough of. So vomiting is, yeah.
I don't know how that works.
Like anemia, right? Like not
Right.
enough platelets or red blood cells or whatever it is. Well,
right.
Anyhow.
Oh.
Who
Sometimes
knew?
you feel like someone who eats too much.
Don't you? Do you
Yeah, I do have days like that.
Especially if there's like chocolate in front of me.
Right. Or it's a day where it's just like, you know what? Carbs for every meal.
Yeah.
Carbs and nothing else but carbs.
I feel ya.
That was kind of today.
Really?
I mean, I did have some asparagus with my tortellini.
Okay, this is a personal question, but do you get the asparagus pea smell? Do you smell that? Because not everybody does.
No.
So, okay, I do. Apparently, everyone emits the odor in their urine, but not everybody can smell it based on their genetic makeup. So, like, I always forget that I've eaten asparagus until I go pee afterwards, and I'm like, what's that? Oh, yeah, it's asparagus. It's a really weird smell, but not everybody smells it.
Oh, I guess I am one of those people.
It's not like you're missing out. It's not a pleasant smell.
Right, I'm not sad.
Yeah, it's not something to be sad about. Well, I had a day off today, and what I did with my day was watch the newest season of You.
Oh.
Have you watched it? Do you watch You?
I watched the first 2 or 3 seasons.
Okay. This is the 5th and final season, and it's pretty good.
Okay.
And I have come to the realization that Joe, the anti-hero, if you will,
Yes.
has BPD. And I don't know if you remember, but he falls in love with everybody and like totally puts them on the pedestal. And then when they piss him off, he kills them.
Yeah, I mean, that tracks.
And he's always like, everybody leaves me.
Right. It's like, no, you killed everyone.
Yeah. Like everybody that I love leaves me and blah, blah, blah. But all he wants is to, in the physics, I'm not going to give it away. But he just keeps lamenting on how he just cannot stand being alone.
Oh.
So.
I like your theory.
I mean, the 5th season, you don't even really need to watch the rest of them. I recommend it. It has like the girl from, did you watch Orange is the New Black?
Yes.
She played Trisha in like the 1st or 2nd season of Orange is the New Black. She died of like a drug overdose. So I've always liked her because her name's Trisha, but she's in this season too, and she's really good. So that's what I did today.
Oh.
While you were working and having some crazy cases, it sounds like.
That is true, but I am not working Monday, so maybe I'll have some time.
Do it. Yeah. Oh, question time.
Yes.
I know that we are 6-7 years apart in age, so our frame of reference will be different. But
Yes.
what is from your childhood, the like live action, so not a cartoon, fantasy movie that like imprinted itself on you when you think of your childhood and you think of, like, I'll tell you mine so you'll understand what I mean. Mine is The Neverending Story. Right? So like that movie I watched a ton. It had a huge impact on me. I still remember all the characters. It's like it's a very traumatic story. You know, you've got like a horse dying in quicksand.
It is.
The Nothing and the Messenger of the Nothing is terrifying.
Oh, yeah. I don't know why they called it a kid's movie.
Yeah. So do you have a movie like that? I guess it could be a cartoon.
Does it have to be like a fantasy movie?
Just in that realm of like weird. Did you have one?
I mean, the movie that kind of comes to mind for me, it's not really like fantasy in terms of like magic and things. but it's Milo and Otis.
That was the dog and the cat.
The dog and the cat go on their like adventure.
Okay.
And then they like almost die several times, and
Yeah.
then they have kittens and puppies at the same time. So it's sort of like not real.
Right before you came here on our Instagram page, I reposted the end of Homeward Bound.
Yes,
With
also
Shiloh.
that.
Yeah, so it was the part where Shiloh comes limping comes limping over the hill, and then I just was crying when you got here a little bit and it's on our Instagram, people. Oh, it won't be by the time this comes out.
So weirdly enough, and maybe related, someone at our work, right as we were like leaving for the day, shared a text where they had sent that exact scene to one of our other coworkers.
Maybe it's just trending.
Maybe.
It gets me. And those movies, I mean, it's like a Disney movie. I've seen it a lot of times. I remember the cat was sassy, and then like Michael J. Fox played Chance.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, that movie too, definitely in my brain.
They all lived.
Yes, definitely.
Someone coming home. Okay. Well, it wasn't the genre I was totally thinking, but I'm trying to think of what would have come out, and maybe like that stuff was not really coming out anymore.
Right. And I'm not like a big fantasy person.
Yeah.
So even if there were things, I may not have been like that interested in them.
My sister loved the movie Legend.
Nope.
Which had Tom. Okay, sorry. That was just my boyfriend came home from whatever he was doing.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. I guess we digressed enough. Sorry, guys. So also another thing I realized is I probably called this dude the smiley face killer in the last couple episodes, and he's the happy face killer. My bad. Courtney informed me there is another killer called the smiley face killer, so we're not mixing them up. This is Keith Jesperson, the happy face killer.
Right. So the title of our episodes has been correct with the happy face killer.
But I might have said the smiley face killer. So I apologize for that. Happens.
They're very easy to mix up.
I mean, it is a smiley face, but anyways, will you recap us?
Yes. So in the previous 2 episodes, we have learned about Keith's childhood, growing up in the countryside of Canada and Washington, his only real friend being his dog, and his enjoyment of hunting small animals and household pets. He grew up to be a giant, but relatively passive young man, working for his dad, who didn't really love him, setting fires and continuing to harm animals. And then he got married, had 2 kids, took a job as a trucker, got a divorce, and then discovered his interest in sexual violence and completed his first murder.
Thank you. He had 3 kids.
Oh, 3 kids. Whoops.
Yeah, it's okay. I think 2 girls and a boy.
Ah.
But the one that's in the series right now is one of his daughters.
Yes.
I think it might be his. I don't know. I don't want to speculate. It's either his oldest or youngest, or the middle.
Mm-hmm. It's probably one of those
one
3.
Of those 3.
Yes.
All right. So yes, we left off with Keith's first kill, and it wasn't an easy kill. He said he wanted to stop, but realized he couldn't without getting in trouble. Keith reflected that he had no idea how much blood could come out of a person's body. He cut out her jean buttons in case they had fingerprints on them. So after he did this, he went to a tavern, the same tavern that he had taken her from, or they had left together from, and got a beer. And this was to make sure that the patrons saw him leave alone. He's kind of like trying to cover his tracks. He then drove for a while, eventually going back home, where he loaded up Tanya's body. He had considered necrophilia, but said he didn't have the feel for it. He did, however, masturbate on her corpse. He took steps to make sure he was seen by himself when he drove out to a dump site later. He threw her stuff along various trails, including her wallet and her Walkman. He eventually dumped her body near the Columbia River Gorge. He went back home, cleaned the house, and he used plenty of bleach, and he even repainted some walls. Later in the day, to extend his alibi, he went car shopping. Courtney, Keith took considerable measures to cover his tracks. What sticks out to you with his first kill? Also, what do you think about him masturbating on the corpse or with the corpse?
The first thing that sticks out is how impulsive it was. You know, he may have planned to sexually assault her, but killing her was not planned in advance. Still, Keith is an intelligent person and historically has spent a lot of time in his own mind. So it makes sense that he would be thoughtful and methodical about cleaning up the scene and disposing of her body. Now, his choice to masturbate over her body strikes me as kind of a final act of degradation and humiliation. If you remember right, he felt humiliated that it took him so long to finally kill her. And we already know that he is all about payback.
Yes. Well, Tanya's body was discovered a few days later by a biker. The police were looking for, quote, 2 6-footers who'd been shooting pool with her in the bar. Keith claims that this made him stop thinking about ending his life, because apparently he was like, I'm going to kill myself. What have I done? But he was very paranoid, because he was the killer. A month later, Keith read in the paper that the police had 2 suspects in custody for Keith's murder. The suspects were a man and a woman, and they were eventually charged with Tanya's murder. In a crazy twist of fate, the woman of this duo was able to lead the police to where the body had been dumped. The woman had said that she and her partner had done the deed, but right before the trial, she recanted. But it was too late. The jury found them guilty of Tanya's murder. The 2 got 15 to life for it. Keith was befuddled by how this could happen. Courtney, talk about getting away with murder. Do you think this increased Keith's confidence in not getting caught? Why are some of the reasons people confess to crimes they don't commit? Don't worry, we'll get to the bottom of this at the end of the story.
Now, I can't imagine that having other people literally take the blame for his crime made him less confident. I would certainly feel less anxious about it. As for people who take credit for crimes they don't commit, it's most often due to a desire for fame and notoriety and that attention. In this case, however, the woman, Laverne Pavlinac, initially called an anonymous tip claiming that her boyfriend was the killer, and then later claimed that she was trying to get him arrested so she could, quote, escape the relationship, which she described as abusive. So she was basically trying to frame her boyfriend.
I was going to talk about that at the end.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But then, when the tip was traced back to her, she just kind of got caught up in the moment and went too far. It was sort of her explanation of why she did it.
Well, since we're talking about this, the book, at the end of the book, says that she was able to tell the police where they went based on kind of stuff that had already been released in the news. So she was able to convince them by what she had learned. So, anyhow.
But then her stories kept changing and didn't match all the details, and it's a big mess.
Yes. Well, Keith was a little bummed that his first kill was attributed to imposters. At a restroom in a Greyhound station in Livingston, Montana, he wrote this on the wall, quote, I killed Tanya Bennett, January 21st, 1990, in Portland, Oregon. I beat her to death, raped her, and loved it. Yes, I'm sick, but I enjoy myself too. People took the blame, and I am free. And then he signed it with the happy face. So, Courtney, this is the reason behind his moniker, so any thoughts on it?
Now, choosing the happy face as his signature could be meaningful or could just be random. He may have been trying to communicate his happy feelings about being a rapist and murderer.
Okay.
And the joy of having gotten away with it. Or maybe trying to be humorous and show that he was unbothered by it. Or maybe he couldn't think of anything else and didn't want to put his name and just made the smiley face.
Okay, sorry. This book has pictures, and I thought that there was a picture of the note, but it's a different note. If you want to look at it, but he puts his hand, he also traces his hand around his note too. So, anyways, that was his first happy face note, sort of. It was in a public restroom,
right?
So anyhow, afterwards, he found his next victim while trucking in Northern California. She had a baby with her, and that is what ultimately saved her life. Keith did rape her, but he had still some sort of a moral code, and it stopped him from killing her because she had a baby, and so he let her go. Courtney, any thoughts on him having a conscience about a mother and a baby? I suppose it's not surprising since he seems somewhat protective of his own children.
It's actually pretty common for serious criminals to have their own kind of internal code of sorts. And many horrible people who have done horrible things draw the line at harming children. And also, serial killers typically have a preferred victim population. They don't just go around killing anyone and everyone, most of them. And so Keith's type seemed to be, young adult sex workers. So killing a baby wouldn't fit his needs.
Yeah. Keith was picked up in Corning by the police for the rape of that woman that he had committed in Shasta County. And he put all the blame on her. Said she got angry when he ejaculated in her mouth and that she was a half-drunk married woman who got mad at him and lied. He told a believable story, but he still had to go back to Shasta and check in with the police. They eventually let him go. But Keith realized that he probably should have killed her even if she had a baby, and that this was not a mistake he would be making again. Keith's boss were made aware of the Shasta case and eventually fired him. But he was soon trucking again, so he got a job somewhere else. Where in the summer of 1992, he was in San Bernardino, California, when a woman asked him for a ride. Her name was Claudia. They got on the road, and at some point, Keith wanted sex. She said he could pay for it, and he said he did not pay for sex and began to force himself on her. He raped her a couple of times, then drove them both to a truck shop to shower. He figured that she'd split, but she didn't. She wanted drugs. According to Keith, she said if he would not give her money to buy drugs, she would She would, quote, blow the whistle on him. She said, "What's it going to be, money or jail?" To this, Keith locked his truck and said, quote, "Neither one, bitch." He taped her limbs together with duct tape. He pushed his fist into her neck until she passed out. He raped her again. When two cars pulled up next to his truck, they wanted the shade he provided. He eased out of the parking lot to get away from them. So that was a really close call right there, but he got away.
Coincidence.
Yeah, they just wanted the shade from his truck. When he decided to kill her, he strangled her until she passed out. She would get revived and he would do it again. Every time she roused, she would curse at him and make threats. He called this a game, and he continued to do it over and over until he didn't allow her to wake again. After which he felt calm, went to the truck stop where he ordered an iced tea. He then laid down next to her and took a nap. He awoke when his CB alerted him to a, quote, smoky bear outside of his truck. So that, I guess, is trucker speak for cops. He went out and talked to the cop. Cool as a cucumber. He got out of there and drove for several miles before he dumped the body. He discarded Claudia's body near the Arizona border. He laundered his sleeping bag because he claimed it smelled like death and was back on the road. So after the second murder, Keith could not stop fantasizing about rape and murder. He claims to be obsessed. Keith reflected that when he would drive by prisons, he would honk and say, quote, "Home sweet home, I'll end up with you guys someday." He knew that he would end up there by the time he was 40. Courtney, do you think it's odd that Keith has this foresight about himself? Do you think he's a narcissist or what do you think at this point?
Now, I do see narcissistic traits in Keith. He's very focused on really only his perspective and how things impact him. But the sense of importance is very fragile, and he also displays low self-esteem and can be very self-deprecating. My guess is this comment is more related to kind of this side of things, where he just kind of expected that he would get caught someday because he fails at everything else.
Well, his next victim he picked up in Turlock, California. He claims that she threw open his truck door while he was sleeping and just crawled in, and it pissed him off. And when she did that, he grabbed her by the throat and started to squeeze. He just kind of instantly killed her. He didn't do his normal game, and he didn't rape her. He had killed this third person. He didn't even know her name, didn't get any sex, and didn't get to play what he called the, quote, death game. He discarded her on a garbage pile and drove away. Anything about that one?
Nope.
Okay. It's a little out of form for him.
Right. But I imagine, if you were sleeping and someone crawled into bed with you, you'd probably react.
Yeah, I think it was more of a reaction thing than anything. In November 1992, Keith was driving through Wilsonville, Oregon, when he decided he would like the company of a sex worker. Keith was looking for a woman he had dealt with before. Her name was Lori Pentland. Now, Courtney, reading this book, it looks like there's a whole subculture of truckers that I wasn't aware of. They have signals with lights that mean things. They have names that they call out on the CB that mean things. And there are what they call, quote, lot lizards that seem to be women who frequent truck stops for sex workers. Maybe they're men too, but sex workers.
Yeah.
So it's a whole thing. Anyway, Keith was about to give up on Lori when she got on the CB and said she was looking for some company. Keith told her where he was, and she came over and negotiated a price. After the tete-a-tete was completed, Keith alleges that Lori demanded more than the agreed-upon amount. And when he refused, she threatened him with telling the authorities or his boss. He then started to strangle her. He said he, quote, played for an hour and then decided to put her under for good. Afterwards, he cleaned up where she had voided her bladder and went for some coffee. He then fondled her, masturbated, robbed her of her money, then decided to dump her body in a G.I. Joe parking lot in Salem, Oregon. That was where he was headed. 4 months later, Keith was in a truck stop in Corning, California. He saw a starving-looking girl in the diner and sent her over a plate of food. She was very grateful for the meal, but he decided that he needed to, quote, have her. He chatted with her, and she said she needed to get to Sacramento. Her name was Cindy to Keith. That's what she told him, but she was really Patricia Skipple. She begged Keith for the ride. Per the book, quote, I hate when they beg. They do it so well. That's what I mean by asking to be killed. The two drove for a while and pulled over where they began to get closer. They had sex for a couple hours. Keith had learned and had put a plastic mattress cover over his mattress at this point. Cindy wanted to stay in the truck with Keith overnight and sleep. He said he would, but she would not be around to enjoy it. He told her he was going to kill her. He then raped her and began with the death game. She was revived 4 or 5 times before he, quote, crushed her neck for good. He disposed of her body down the road behind some thick brush. Courtney, any thoughts?
Well, it seems like Keith is solidly building up his level of sexual sadism. This strangulation torture game demonstrates how he's starting to enjoy and have fun with his kills. And also just the way he is disposing of the bodies now definitely shows that his appreciation for humanity, for humanness, is also degrading. And he's not even seeing his victims as people anymore.
He's not trying to cover up what he did. He's just tossing them out.
Right.
Where anyone could find him. 5 or 6 months later, Keith realized he wanted to kill again. It's bizarre how this seems to work, Courtney. It's truly like a fix. These killers are addicted to murder at some point. They can sometimes go long periods of time, but it seems to always be there. It's like a compulsion that they need to satisfy. And by the time they are serial killers, only killing will do. For the most part.
Right.
Anyhow, Keith ended up confiding in his friend named Billy about what he had been doing. He told Billy he had killed multiple women. Billy did not believe Keith at first, but I think he started to after Keith did some more talking. Billy's advice was for him to get a punching bag and use that to let his anger out rather than killing any more women. He also said, quote, you should see a shrink.
Good advice.
Right. Keith asked him, quote, what can I do to stop, or am I just going to keep doing this? Billy wanted to know why he does it, to which Keith replied, quote, I enjoy it, but honest to God, I'm fighting it. So, Courtney, again, Keith seems self-aware about, this part of him. Do you think he does want to stop? Do you think he just wanted to tell someone? I mean, his first murder was attributed to some other people, so he hasn't gotten any of the attention he thought he was going to get.
Yeah, I think he was really wanting to get some recognition for his work. He was proud of his newly developed skills and was probably, no pun intended, just dying to brag about it. Especially since, his messages that he was leaving and things like that were not getting him any attention.
Yeah. I mean, he must have assumed that Billy would not tell on him, and I don't think Billy ever did. So I don't think that's how he got caught.
Yeah.
So,
also, I mean, just Billy's idea that a punching bag could save these women is very sweet.
Right.
But wrong.
Right. Well, a few months later, Keith met Julie Winningham at a truck stop in Troutdale, Oregon. I want to point out really quick, I may have said last week that Keith topped out at 6'4", but I was wrong. He ended up being 6'6", which I think is like Ed Kemper style.
Yeah.
He's a big dude. Anyhow, these two talked for a couple hours at a coffee shop, and it sounds like Keith actually kind of really liked her. He invited her to go on a trip with him. Keith was headed to Irvine, California. They stopped at a truck stop where they had, quote, okay sex. Keith went to make a phone call, and when he came out, Julie was trying to score drugs from someone else. So the only drugs Keith really does is no-dos. Like, he did talk a lot about being up for hours and hours and hours doing these trucking things. He pops no-dos and coffee like crazy, and he will be up for over 24 hours at a time.
Right, which I think used to be fairly common amongst long haul truckers.
How much this plays into his stuff, I don't know, but I am pointing that out. But he wasn't doing other drugs. Right, and he didn't necessarily approve of that going on. So, anyways, that kind of pissed him off that she was trying to score drugs from someone else. But she asked him to marry her that night because she was in love with him. This was just after a day or two. Keith would later say she just wanted to, a schmuck to buy her drugs. He ended up dropping her off where she wanted to go. So no assault, obviously no murder. And he would drive through. I can't remember what town it was, but and he would stop and see her. So that went on for, I think, about a year. And then their relationship ended. Allegedly, Julie was fooling around with that same Billy that we just spoke about. So that ended. Soon after he and Julie were over, Keith ran across an article about that couple serving time for his murder of Tanya. And he decided he needed to send another message to the Washington County Courthouse. So here's what it said. Quote, I killed Miss Bennett January 20th, 1990, and left her 1.5 miles east of Lateral Falls on the switchback. I used a 1/2-inch soft nylon rope, burnt on one end, frayed on the other, and tied it around her neck. Her teeth protruded from her mouth. Death was caused by my right fist pushed into her throat until she quit moving. Threw her Walkman away. Her purse, $2. I threw it into the Sandy River. I cut the buttons off her jeans. I had raped her before and after her death. I left her facing downhill and her jeans by her ankles. I did not know any of them. And then like a happy face drawing. He looked in the papers for a month, but he didn't see any mention of his letter. So, Courtney thoughts. I also want to mention that when he described that first kill to his author, he said he did not have a taste for necrophilia. But in this note, he says that he raped Tanya after her death. So, I think he did have sex with her corpse. He admits to masturbating on him, but when writing this book, he denied it. Maybe because he thinks it's distasteful or others would think so. What are your thoughts?
One of the benefits to Keith about collaborating on this book is he gets to create his own revisionist history. And so it could be that you're right. He really did kind of have a little bit of that taste and did have sex with her body after she was dead. Or it could also be that he's kind of clout chasing with this message and that, maybe it felt, I don't know, like more powerful or cooler to have raped her again rather than saying, and I masturbated. Just for kind of the message that he wanted to portray to people.
Well, and I don't know, this is the early 90s, so I don't know if he would know or if, where the DNA, was at that point.
It was still pretty early in DNA.
And I don't know if they can tell if someone had sex with someone post-mortem if it happened right after they died.
Probably not.
So I don't know that science.
Right.
So, did he or didn't he? I don't know. He either masturbated on her or he had sex with her. He says both things.
Right. Either way, he did something sexual to her corpse.
Yes. So Keith was getting very antsy about the lack of no response from his, happy face notes. So he wrote 2 more letters to the Oregonian, which is Oregon's largest newspaper. Courtney, I'm going to ask you to read this first one because I have been talking a lot and I'm sure people want to hear your voice. So hang on, I have it in this book. Just give me a second. Okay. It's this different font. And he has grammatical errors, so if it sounds weird when she's saying it, that's just how he wrote it.
Okay, so this is what was sent to the Oregonian in April. I would like to tell my story. I'm a good person at times. I always wanted to be liked. I have been married and divorced with children. I didn't really want to be married, but it happened. I have read your paper and enjoyed it a lot. I always have wanted to be noticed like Paul Harvey, front page, etc. So I started something I don't know how to stop. On or around January 20th, 1990, I picked up Sonia Bennett and took her home. I raped her and beat her real bad. Her face was all broke up. Then I ended her life by pushing my fist into her throat. This turned me on. I got a high. Then panic set in. Where to put the body? I drove out to the Sandy River and threw her purse and Walkman away, and I drove the scenic road past the falls. I went back home and dragged her out to the car. I want to know that it was my crime. So I tied a 1/2-inch soft white rope cut on end and burned on the other around her neck. I drove her to the switchback on the scenic road about 1.5 miles east of Lateral Falls, dragged her downhill. Her pants were around her knees because I had cut her buttons off. They found her the next day. I wanted her to be found. I felt real bad and afraid that I would get caught. But a man and a woman got blamed for it. My conscience is getting to me now. She was my first, and I thought I would not do it again, but I was wrong.
What do you think about that? Bit of BS in there.
There's definitely some BS in there, especially down there at the end.
Right. My conscience is getting to me.
Right. I don't think it's his conscience. I think it's his ego. Mm-hmm. He wants that, again, acclaim and attention for how good of a killer he is.
This is Paul Harvey, by the way. I didn't know who it was, but
oh yeah,
an American radio broadcaster. That's kind of funny.
He's a very famous broadcaster up in Washington.
Okay, it's like I was like, why did he pick this guy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's a Washington thing.
It was a Washington thing. My dad loved Paul Harvey. He was kind of like a conservative news journalist type.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, so he sent did the smiley face on that, but he got no reaction. So
he must have been so sad.
Yeah, sad enough to write another letter. Here it goes. My last victim was a street person. It was raining in Corning, California. She was wet, and I offered a ride to Sacramento, California. I stopped at a rest area near Williams and had her. I put her body on or near a pile of rocks about 50 yards north of Highway 152 westbound, around 20 miles from Santanella. It was getting hard to trust my inner self. I kept arguing with my conscience. I had to get away from long-haul trucking. Victims are too easily found, so I quit and found a good job driving where I'm in the public eye and out of harm's way. The truck has a bold name on the side, so it's easily recognized. I got away from what became easy. I do not want to kill again, and I want to protect my family from grief. I would tear it apart. I feel bad, but I will not turn myself in. I am not stupid. I do know what would happen to me if I did. In a lot of opinions, I should be killed, and I feel I deserve it. My responsibility is mine, and God will be my judge when I die. I'm telling you this because I will be responsible for these crimes and no one else. It all started when I wondered what it would be like to kill someone, and I found out. What a nightmare it has been. I had sent a letter to Washington County Judge's criminal court taking responsibility to number 1. But nothing has been in your paper. This freedom of press, you have the ball. I will be reading to find out. I use gloves, the same paper as last time. No prints. Look over your shoulder. I may be closer than you think. And then he says, I didn't sign any of the letters or reread them for errors, obviously, but I made a little happy face so the paper would know it was the same guy. Thoughts on that one?
I mean, ballsy, for sure. Like, just putting out there, like, I'm a truck driver.
And a big,
this is where I was.
obvious truck.
Right. Look for the big, bold lettering. I feel like it's definitely like a challenge moment of like, look how obvious I am, and you still don't know me.
Right. Do you kind of see where I'm paralleled him to BTK now.
Yes. Now, like with those
With the
letters.
letters. It's basically the letters and needing the attention.
Right. And kind of mocking almost the law enforcement and the media for not being able to find him.
Yeah. So by 1994, Keith was allegedly desperate to understand himself. You heard how he's trying to stop himself in these letters.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's so hard.
He found a True Detective magazine with an article, quote, "Does Oregon have another serial killer?" And it was about him. He, of course, had to write the author and offer corrections to the article. The author never acknowledged it in further additions to the magazine. So, Courtney, do you notice how often this True Detective magazine comes up in our research?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's definitely been a theme where like young serial killers get their start learning about murder in these True Detective magazines.
I looked it up, and it ran from 1924 to 1995. So Keith may have been one of the last killers they covered.
Interesting.
So anyhow,
I'm sure that fed his ego.
yeah,
But then that little narcissistic part of him had to go in and correct them.
right. Keith was possibly trying to quit his bloodlust. I don't know, but he did kind of change a little bit for a while. He thought maybe he could start lighting fires again, like he did as a child. So he started lighting grass fires in big open areas, and he reveled in watching the fire crews come out to put them out. He claims to have set fires in all of the West Coast states, along with Nevada and Arizona, which is just being a fucker.
Right. Especially with how wildfires
Yeah.
happen these days.
Yeah, now it would be...
That would be a crime in and
It
of
would be
itself.
so bad. So he claims that the fire started to give him the same rush as killing did, and he was addicted. He claims that one of his fires burnt 2,000 acres out of the Columbia River Gorge, and then a 365-acre fire on the Snoqualmie Pass in Washington. He started to use firecrackers next, but kind of for a different reason. He would use them to scare RVers in truck stops because he got pissed off because people in RVs would go into like the truckers stop area instead of like the passenger car, and then would take like 1 to 2 of these things.
Right.
So to get back at them, he started like lighting off firecrackers, which sounded like gunshots, and then he would scare them off. So he said that it wasn't long before the snowbirds going up and down I-5 were talking about the firecracker bandit. So Keith figures that his arson activities actually kept him killing people for about a year. What do you think, Courtney?
Well, if you think about the power and control dynamics of murder, and then you think about starting fires, right? There's still that same like show of power, like look how much damage and destruction I can do. So I could see how temporarily that could serve as like an alternative.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, taking methadone instead of heroin, right? It kind of does the same thing, but is slightly less horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good analogy, I think. So that's all we're going to do now. He's almost done with his murders. There's a couple more, and then we'll talk about how he gets caught and his arrest and blah, blah, blah. Next time. So hopefully it'll be one more episode, and that'll be it.
Yes.
So do you have anything else you want to say before we sign off for the day? Any thoughts popped out at you? Like a firecracker?
I mean, just that I'm sure he was thrilled to have 2 monikers. The Firecracker Bandit and the Happy Face Killer.
Let me look up and see if the Firecracker Bandit, or did he just make that up? I mean, he would be like BTK and give himself a nickname.
Probably.
He did not give himself the Happy Face Killer nickname. I think the Oregonian eventually did.
Right.
Give him that.
But he started it by putting happy faces on things.
Yes. I don't see anything about the Firecracker Bandit in Google. Doesn't mean it didn't happen, but it could be one that he just made up.
Right. Or maybe like 3 people called him that.
It was his friend Billy, him,
And like Billy's grandma.
yeah. Okay, well, stay safe, everybody, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Bye.
Bye.